So I would now, and I'm very, very delighted to be able to hand over to Michelle Parish, who is going to take us through a presentation around engaging online delivery and training. So Michelle, if I can hand over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Gareth. Thank you very much indeed. Pleasure to be with you this afternoon. It really is. And as it says on the screen there, and Gareth said, my name's Michelle Parish. I work with the Learning and Performance Institute, and I head the Virtual Academy for the LPI, heavily involved in virtual events. And that's from delivery, for design, the small events, the large events, right up to those conferences Gareth was talking about just a few moments ago. I've made lots of mistakes along the way. I've also learned a lot. And I'm here today to talk to you about 7 things that you really need to think about to make any virtual event really work for you. And 3 things, possibly 4, creeping in there just to remember to avoid. When I first started delivering, which would be about 12 years ago, online, I delivered before in a classroom, but online was about 12 years ago. And I was really, really skeptical. Didn't like the environment, didn't really think it could work, didn't think I could do it. And I don't think I even wanted to do it. And here we are, 12 years later, it's all I do. I love it, I've seen the potential, and I work with organizations globally in helping them reach their potential and upskill and roll out virtual events across what they do. So this, I think, is something that we need to think about. I don't know you, but I know the people that I spend a lot of time with often have a lot of fears around this environment. Those fears that are similar to mine. The fear that says, can I do this? I can't see people in the same way. How am I going to manage? And we end up doing a lot of comparison with what we do in a face-to-face environment. Well, maybe today's going to help you. Maybe you're going to grow fearless. I don't know. You might want to tell me at the end of the event today. I'm going to turn my webcam off for a short time. I'll be turning on again later on, but let me just stop that for now. And what I'd like to do is now start taking you through. We're going to go through 7 facilitation tips and 3 things to avoid. For me, it is really important that you share your thoughts, your opinions, your questions. I think you know where the chat is, but if you don't, have a look down the bottom of your screen there. And if you can, share any thoughts you've got, anything you want to add to the session as we go through. I would absolutely love you to. And if you've never used this before and you want to try it out while I'm talking, please open up that chat panel and just send me a hello. I don't mind. But please feel free to use it as much as you'd like to as we go through the session today. So I'm not going to keep you beyond 2 o'clock, I promise you, and we have got an awful lot to cover as we go through the session. So if I was to say to you, when it comes to online facilitation, and hello Kelly and hello Ben, when it comes to online facilitation, what's your biggest concern? Because for me, when I started, it was like maybe I couldn't handle the technology or I couldn't see people. Just share with me if you can. What's the thing that bothers you the most, concerns you the most? Gareth says there, knowing whether the student's paying attention. I feel that, absolutely. Loss of engagement, says Emma. And that's a really good one, Emma. Sarah says there, definitely the technology going wrong. I know. And Sarah, I had a slight panic today when I couldn't get my slides to do what they wanted to, so I know. Ben says power cuts there. It happens to us all, doesn't it? Kelly says, are there people behind the black screens? And I think when we think about what Sarah said there and what Kelly said, you know, a lot of that is around this engagement, and we're in a completely different environment and we start to worry. We start to think, okay, it is different. Am I managing? And I'm going to say to you, don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid not to try. Because when I started, I think I was afraid to try to start with. But when we start to try and we try things out and we realized, you know, this isn't so bad after all, we start to grow in this environment. And picking up on what David just said in chat, we start to gauge people's reactions. There's a lot we can do, but sometimes it's the things we don't know. And we don't always know what it is we don't know. So today I'm hopefully going to help you with some of those things. We're going to look to start with at what I call 7 facilitation tips. And I'm going to take you through 7 things I really want you to work on. And can I ask you, if you've got a pen and paper to hand, just be thinking as I talk through about the things you need to go away and focus on after we're finished. There might be 7. There might be 1, there might be 3, I don't know. You're all different and you're possibly all at different levels. What we're going to talk about can apply to webinar events. It can apply to one-to-one coaching, can apply to training. It could even apply to meetings. So let's get in. Anyone want to take a guess at what number one is going to be? What is the one thing you really need to do or know when it comes to this environment? Can you think of anything? Hanneke, I'm seeing what you said there about as an IT trainer, it's difficult to engage online because of the tech limitations. Maybe we need to know our technology more. Your audience, says Amy, turn on the webcam, says Hanneke. No, moderate pitch of voice. Do you know, it's this one. How well do you know your technology? Honestly, you might be using Zoom. As we are here today, you might be in WebEx, you might be in Teams. How well do you know it? How well do you know the settings that are there that will help you control that session? Can you troubleshoot the audio? If someone logs in and they have an audio problem, do you know what to do? What about the technical difficulties people might have? Have you prepared for them? Have you practiced your session? Have you rehearsed it? Do you know what your stumbling points are? You might have a breakout room. Can you handle them? Do you know what to do? What are your sticking points in terms of your technology? Or are you just crossing your fingers and hoping that it's going to go okay on the day? To be really, really honest with you, if you've got to be comfortable, you've got to exude confidence. And if you are not comfortable with your technology, you're not going to exude that confidence in the same way, no matter how well you actually know your content. So just tell me in chat, David, you got that one right. Just tell me in chat there, on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 is you are an absolute expert in whatever technology you're using, what would you rate yourself? What would you rate yourself? Can you share? 10 is you're an expert. Yeah. 6 is sort of middle of the road. Thanks, Claire. Amy says 7. Simon says 5. 5 from David there. A high 8, says Emma. Good one. A 5 from Sarah. Paula says a 7. So I think possibly, I'm looking there, is the highest we've gone an 8. Elizabeth's a 4. Yeah, a 5. Hanneke has gone an 8 as well. So even those of you that are saying, I'm an 8, what do you need to do to get to a 10? Ask yourself really honestly, what is it you don't know? Is it the settings? Is it particular software? Is it particular functions? And really start to explore. Go onto YouTube, there's loads of videos. If you're really, really stuck, you can reach out to me after the session and I'll help you in any way I can. Gareth said, things I use regularly is an 8, things I don't is a 2. But I'm going to pick up on what Gareth said because it's quite interesting. Shouldn't we be using more? You know, we've got this technology here. Why aren't we using it? What is it we're not using? Should we be using more features? Emma says, always that moment when you need to check that they can see what you need them to see. And Emma, I'm going to help you with that too. If you all look at the participants panel, and you may or you may not have got that open, but if you just open it up, you'll find it at the bottom of the screen there. If you scroll through, you will find logged into the session today is someone called XX Michelle 2. That enables me throughout the whole of this session to see exactly what you're seeing. So that's my attendee view. It's a laptop to the side of me and I know exactly what you're seeing. Makes a huge difference, particularly if you're going to do IT training. Emma, it can be something cheap and cheerful, yeah, as long as it's there, but it is invaluable. And it's also invaluable if you're going to practice. If you want to practice, you know, what happens if I hit this button? You see what your attendees see. So that's my number 1 for you. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to go on your list or not, but just to recap, you really do need to be comfortable with your software. Amy's had a light bulb moment. I love it, Amy. But it's so important. And the reason it's my number 1 to talk to you is I didn't do this when I started. I didn't get to know my technology as well as I should have done. And we're going back 12 years and I should have done. I should have put more time in. As soon as I knew it inside out and upside down, do you know, it made my session so much better because I felt more comfortable. So that's number 1. Okay, number 1, know your technology. Number 2, I'm not going to ask you to guess all of these because we'll never get there. Be prepared. Be prepared. It is stressful enough when you're in an environment that you're not as comfortable with. I bet you're all really comfortable face to face. You go into a classroom, you know exactly what you're going to do. But when you're here in this environment, it's all a bit alien, particularly to start with. So think about what you've got to do. What have you got to do in terms of being prepared? Any thoughts, seriously? Anything that you do now, that you do in terms of sort of preparation? This is before the event's even started. If you want to share, please do. Is there anything you do now? Yeah, prep the polls, the quizzes. Brilliant, from Kelly. Yeah, definitely. Really, really key. You don't want to be doing that in the middle of the session. Checking your timings, says Emma. And I would say, building on what Emma says, try to have a little bit of a buffer in there, 10 minutes, just in case you need it. Simon says, get your documents to screen share. Run through your slides, says Gareth. Open all the documents you need to share. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. So then build on that as well. What else do we need to do? And if you think about those other things, we've got to think about the technology. What's your video cam like if you're going to be using it? Is the lighting good? Have you got it in the right position? What's your audio like? Have you used a different headset and is it causing you a problem? Have you logged in that second device we just mentioned there? That could be useful. Have you remembered you need to record? And if it's something you forget to do, because I was used to, do yourself a big sticky note and stick it at the top of the screen just to remind yourself that's what you need to do. The other thing that I would say to you, really, really think about, and I don't know, are you all using Zoom? Just fire into chat what software you use predominantly. Is it Zoom? Is it something else? Is it Zoom? I'm just watching to see if it's going to be Zoom coming. Teams from Steve and Claire there. So looking at this, it's Zoom or Teams. That's, yeah, David's got both there. Think about, an Adobe, one of my favorites there, Ben. Think about a technology checklist. A checklist of, I'm going to log into Zoom or I'm going to log into Teams. What do I need to do? What do I need to turn on? What do I need to turn off? What do I need to remember to do? Thinking about you, and the more prepared you are, the easier it's going to be, because it leads on in a moment to some of those other things. Does anyone have a checklist now? You've got some emoticons. I don't know if you know where they are, but they're at the bottom of the panel where you see your name. If you've got that open, give me a green tick, a green check mark to say yes you have, or a red cross if it's a no. No? It might be, oh, Emma does. Emma does. That's brilliant. And it might be, you know, something that you can talk to Emma, see if she'll share hers with you. But think about, could this help you? Could this help you be prepared? Because you want to be ready. What it does is it leads us on now nicely to number 3. Claire says, always need to remember to tell the family when going on Zoom to prevent interruptions. Absolutely. And things, Claire, like, you know, turning your mobile phone off, and I've got an Apple Watch, having to mute that. There's those sorts of things as well that I think are really important just to try and remember to do. Hanukkah says, I've created some slides with the practical stuff like recording the session that I run at the start. Brilliant. And shared it on LinkedIn. We would call those reception slides, and they're really key to an event. Yeah, really, really key. So that's really, really good. So Kelly says, yeah, her family's used to it now. Emma says she does the same. She transplants everything she needs into PowerPoint, stops you getting flustered. And I think you see what Emma says, we do get flustered sometimes. You know, we have those days where not everything goes right. So what can we do to help us transition smoothly? Pausing Slack notifications, another one, good one there from Gareth. Okay, number 3. In some ways, number 3 is the most important when it comes to your delegates. So we're thinking now of the people that are joining your session. These are the people we're thinking about now. It is absolutely critical as they join your session, you grab their attention. Really, really important. Why is it important? Let's call him, I don't know, let's call him Fred. Fred's going to join your session. Why is it critical you grab Fred's attention when he joins? Any thoughts? Why is it important? Gain engagement. David, you're right. Absolutely. And build on what David said. Is there another reason too? Rapport. Ben, we were talking about that earlier. Claire says, so he knows, you know he's there. Absolutely. Yeah. And you've acknowledged him. Get him to trust the platform. Good point there from Gareth. So what can you do? Fred's logging into your next session you run. What can you do to grab his attention as he joins? What are you going to do? He's appeared, let's say, in the lobby. I'm going to assume you let him in. What are you going to do next? Use his name. Good one, Gareth. Say hello, says David. You would be amazed at the number of people that don't. Yeah. So what David said about saying hello, Gareth says use his name. Let's imagine it's a training event, not like our event today, but more of a training event where you're looking for Fred's interaction. I always ask about the weather, Ben, so it's a good one. So it's a training event. Yeah. What are you going to do? Oh, Gareth's feeling bad. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. There's always things we can do, always things we can improve upon. So let's say there was 8 of us today and I was training you. What would be really good if I did when you joined? If I said, for example, you know, hello, Sarah, hope you're okay. Hope the weather's okay with you today. What else do I need to be doing? Intro, says Amy. Yeah. I'm sounding hesitant, aren't I? But yeah, you're sort of right. You are right. Ask questions, ask how people are feeling. Yes, Emma. Check if they can see and hear. So what you want to do is you want to say to Fred, Fred, lovely to see you. Hope the weather's good. I'm going to come and unmute your microphone. I want to have a chat with you. I want to make sure you can hear me and I can hear you. There's nothing worse than Fred telling you he can hear you, and then it comes to those intros later that Amy mentioned, and actually no one can hear Fred. So it's really important you think about this. Really, really, really key. And definitely, you know, Kelly says ask them a question. It can be anything. It can be what Ben said. It can be something about the weather. It can be something to do with the course. But that acknowledgement you're giving them, and you're giving them that acknowledgement by name, do you know, it makes a huge difference. It really does. Let me ask you a question sort of slightly different way. Do you think you feel, I'm going to say more welcome, more involved, if you join something and somebody acknowledges you personally? Do you think it makes a difference to you? Just tell me in the chat a yes or a no or anything else. Definitely, says David. Yeah. So if it makes us feel different, you imagine how our attendees feel and the difference that it makes to them when we're saying, you know, Ben, lovely to see you. Tell us about the weather. I'm coming to check your audio. Those sorts of things make a huge difference. So think as well, you know, it's not just about greeting with I'm going to say warmth and enthusiasm, but think about what's going on the screen. And some of you have mentioned those, what I'd call reception slides. They can be really, really important in terms of gaining attention. And this is the element before you're officially due to start. It's that bit leading up to, I don't know, 10 o'clock if you're starting at 10. It's that bit. But there's something there that's just worth mentioning, that warmth and enthusiasm. How does it feel if you join something and everyone sounds a bit fed up? Presenter sounds a bit gruff and grumpy. It's not giving you, great, this is going to be a great session. It's making you almost wish you weren't there. So that warmth, that enthusiasm needs to come across. I'm sure it does in what you do, but it is absolutely critical, almost more so because you're in this environment than it would be if you were face to face. So think about that. Think about the opening of your sessions now. Could you do anything different? You could do an icebreaker poll. Yep, absolutely. There's all sorts of things you can do. There's a brilliant book, and I'm just got to find it because it's behind me somewhere. There's a brilliant book, and it is called Interact and Engage. Interact and Engage. You'll find it on Amazon. And it's by a lady called, let me just type it into chat as I'm talking to you. It's by a lady called Cassie Labori. So it's called Interact and Engage. And there's 50 plus activities there for virtual meetings and webinars. Some of them aren't great, but you know, most of them are. There's some really good stuff in there, really good stuff. So if you really want to look for something different, you might find that really useful. So number one is all around your technology. Yeah. Number 2 is around being prepared. Number 3 is that opening and that grabbing attention. What's number 4? Only one left in stock, Emma. You've got to get it quick, I reckon. So number 4, we've sort of started the session. What could number 4 be? We've done the greeting. We've done the welcome, everybody. We're now going to kick off. What could number 4 be? What's almost one of the first things we need to do, either just before or just after those intros that were mentioned. What could number 4 be? Session objectives, they're important. Yeah, set the session up. I'm hoping we've done that, Simon. Yeah, I'm hoping we have in our prep. Housekeeping, overview, set up for the day. Oh, you're not wrong. All those things are important. Do you know, for me, there's something else important. Something that is so often overlooked. You've got people in those sessions that might have never been in a virtual event before. They might have done loads of stuff in WebEx, but they've never done anything in Zoom. You might be running in Teams today and they've only ever used Adobe Connect. And yet here you are, you're looking for them to interact. Maybe they can't. Why is it so important at the start of your session, and it might be before or after the housekeeping and the objectives, but right up front there, why is it so important to familiarize people with the software? Why is it so important? You might do engagement, Leanne's right. Yeah, so they can join in. Do you know, Amy, it sounds obvious, doesn't it? But it isn't. Yeah, so they can get the most out of the session, says Sarah. Gareth, make sure they feel comfortable. And Emma says, because if your training's reliant on polls and whiteboards, then it'll only work if they know about it. I assess lots of sessions, webinar events, training events, and I'm so surprised at the number of events I see, and that they're full of whiteboards and polls and breakouts, and people are expected to use the chat and the emoticons, but they don't know how. And picking up on David's point, they don't even know how to ask a question if they've got one. They don't know if the etiquette is to open the mic or to use the chat. They might not even know where the chat is. So the next sessions you run, if you don't already, and it's not every session. So if you're starting tomorrow with a brand new group and it's going to run over 10 weeks with that same group, you just need to do it once at the beginning. But if people don't know how to communicate, it's often unlikely they will, because they don't know if they've got the permission to do it. David's added there, if delegates can't work the software, then they spend their time trying to get the software working and not focusing on the content. Brilliant point. But it's right, isn't it? Because you and I would probably do the same. So look at your slide decks. I'm hoping you've got some slide decks in there. Look at your slide decks and think about what little activities can you do at the start of an event that can introduce the tools. It hasn't got to take ages. It could be you're going to bring up a whiteboard and you're going to ask people to share their personal objectives before or after you cover the session objectives, but you've got them using the annotation tools. Could you ask them, I don't know, where they're joining from and get them to tell you that in chat before you go to a little bit more on open mic? Look at what you could do and think about, are you doing enough to get people, you know, really engaged and really working now on using those tools? So it might be on your list to do, it might not. Number 5, I've got to watch my time here. Number 5, really key, but then all of these obviously are really, really important. Involve your audience. Sometimes we complain, and I know because I've done it. We complain that nobody's interacting with us, but we haven't asked them. Or if we have asked them, they don't know how to use the tools. We need to involve them. We need to encourage them. And sometimes we don't. I don't know how many events you've attended, but when you do attend an online event, it might be a meeting, it might be an event like this. What do you do and/or how do you feel if you're not asked anything? If you're not asked to participate, what goes on for you? Easily distracted, said Gareth. Zone out, says Emma. Harder to stay engaged, says Sarah. Yep. So we've got 3 people's responses there. Check emails, says Emma. Emma would be checking her emails, yeah? Sarah can't engage there now. Emma's zoned out. Gareth's easily distracted. It's telling us we need to do something. We need to be trying to involve people. And I say trying because we can't make people interact with us, but we need to be trying. Do you think it, I'm going to say, feels better when you are actively engaged, when someone's asking you questions, when you know somebody's looking for a response for you? Do you think it's easier then to stay focused? I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but is it easier? Yeah, Gareth said yes there. You can give me an emoticon response if you wish. Definitely, we've got some yeses in. You can say no if you don't agree. But if you feel that that works for you, are we doing it enough for our attendees? Or are we almost allowing them that opportunity to check their emails, to zone out, because we're not involving them enough? 3 ways in which you can involve your audience in this virtual environment. Think about the software, think about the technology. 3 ways you can involve. 1 if you like, but how can we involve them? What sort of things can we do in this environment? Use the names, absolutely. So that's a nice one just generally from David there. Think about the technology as well. What features have you got here? The polls, absolutely. So we've got the polls, the chat. So we've got polls and chat, we've got using names. What else can we do? What else can we do? Reacting to comments as we're doing now. Gamifying quizzes. Yep, brilliant. We're here in Zoom. Yep, you have the emoticons at the bottom of the panel where your list of names is. I don't know if you know the reactions. Brilliant, Alice. Yeah, you got the reactions and things there as well. And I don't know if you know that you can use annotation tools. So you've got an option to bring annotation tools in. So you could draw all over this slide if I gave you the tools. Have eye-catching slides, not lots of text. You know, David, we're not covering slides today, but it's really important, really key. It really is. But annotation tools, whiteboards, breakout rooms, screen sharing, and looking, I don't know, at programs if you're doing IT training, for instance. There is so much. Kelly's tried that. There's just so much you can do. And then if you start thinking about what you do in a classroom situation, sort of think outside that box. How can you do it here? I don't know if you ever use video, and I mean little MP4 clips, YouTube. Bring that into your session. It's a completely different dynamic. You can do all of that here in Zoom. The one thing it's a little bit more difficult in Teams at the moment is your breakout, because you have to mess about with different rooms, but that I understand is coming as well. So it's something that's important. It really is. So in terms of frequency, if you were going to design a brand new session, how often should you be planning to ask people in your session a question? What do you think best practice says? How often? What's the frequency? Any ideas? Every 10, says Gareth. Every few, says Claire. I'd love you to put a number on it, Claire. All the time, says Annika. Well, okay, all the time. 3. Claire's gone for 3. Every minute, says Simon. I'm worried now that we're going to give Gareth heart failure here in a moment, but I might just have to risk it. Emma says, as much as reasonably possible, I guess, depends on the content. Elizabeth's gone for 2. Seriously, and I'm going to say almost irrespective of content, you should be aiming for every 3 to 5 minutes. And that might sound loads, but do you know it isn't? Because there's going to be different types of interactions. Some are going to be really quick, like you're firing comments into chat. Some might be a lot bigger, like it could be a whiteboard or a poll exercise. You need to look at your content. Look for the points you're telling people. Could you turn that into a question and then consolidate? Rather than telling them, could you get a bit of a brainstorm going on a whiteboard? Aim for this. Do you know it makes a huge difference? Not everyone is going to respond all the time. They don't, obviously, but it makes a big, big difference. So ask yourself whether that goes on your list or not. I don't know. Number 6, voice. Your voice is possibly the most powerful tool. And it's one of the reasons I turned the webcam off. Because this isn't about, Gareth and I were talking about this earlier. To me, this isn't about engaging through your webcam. It's about engaging through your voice. And it's getting your people to focus on the key messages that are on your slides and what's going on in the chat. That chat that you're putting in there is, I call it my online friend. Everything you put in there, honestly, it tells me you're still here. You haven't disappeared completely. But it helps you gauge participation. You've got essentially 3 ways to engage online. How you use your voice. coming back to what David said about the slides, what people see and what you encourage people to do. But your voice is really, really important. It's that first impression. People walk into your virtual room and they hear you. It doesn't matter so much what you look like and what you're wearing. It's what that voice, is it warm? Is it enthusiastic? Are they with you? It makes a lot more difference. Gareth says, I'm far more engaged in this than I normally am when I can see the speaker. Do you know, that's really interesting? We've been talking a lot about webcam use. I'll put mine on again in a moment. When I'm delivering, I've got 3 screens around me. In fact, I'll put it on now while I'm talking. So let me just do that while I'm talking to you. So I've got 3 screens around me. I've got the screen that I'm talking to with my webcam on. I've got another screen over here from which I'm driving the slides because I want the slide sorter view on. I've got my attendee view over here. And over to the right, I've got something else because this is where I make my notes, where I might want to pick up on something you've said and then I'd actually come back. So I find that if I have my webcam on, I'm probably distracting you from what's going on there. So I'll put it on at the beginning. I might put it on in the middle. I might put it on at the end. And we were talking about this earlier as to what do we do? You know, how should it be? So I'm going to turn mine off so I don't distract you too much, and I will put it on again at the end. But seriously, think about your voice. Think about your voice. Think about your pitch. Think about your tone. Are you someone that races through the session because you just want to get it over with? I don't know. Be you. Are you relaxed enough to be you? Or is it the fact that, oh, it's all this technology and it needs to take us back to number 1. We need to learn it so that you can relax more and actually be you. And remember to smile. Yeah, it's a bit corny, I know, but you can hear it. It makes a big, big difference. Kelly says, what are your thoughts about delegates having cameras on? Can that distract, or do you prefer to see they're there? If I say I don't prefer to see they're there, that sounds terrible, Kelly. I'd prefer to monitor through other ways. I've done it for a long time, and I talk to people. Gareth and I were talking about this earlier, and many people say it makes them feel a bit uncomfortable being on webcam, particularly if they're at home. So I don't really want people to feel uncomfortable in my sessions. I'd rather them be comfortable and interact however they're the most comfortable. And it might be on open mic, it might be through the chat. And I think you get more from people. But Gareth and I were talking earlier, and I said, I think one of the things to do is to try it out. Try different things out with your groups. Ask them. See what they say. Might be interesting. But there are different ways to monitor what I call online body language. So number 7, and my number 7 is, okay, we're going to talk a bit disasters. Yes, sometimes things go wrong. Of course they do. Have a backup plan. Just have something up your sleeve for what if it does all go wrong. What sort of things should we consider in terms of, I don't know, a contingency, in terms of a backup plan? What sort of things should we think about? Can you think of anything? Second laptop, yeah. I do this a lot, Gareth, as you know. So my second laptop's actually connected to a separate internet connection. So if any of you are going to end up doing this a lot, and I work from home, I have 2 internet connections because that's my buffer. Yeah. Emailing a document, if the screen share won't work, definitely. And also think, Emma, you know, some of those screen share things could be like little snapshots on slides that could be a backup. IT service disruption. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you've got options, sometimes you haven't. Some software you can dial in using a phone, absolutely you can. Yep. And think about what else is available to you, because some of you said you're using Zoom. Is Teams available too? So let's say something went wrong with Zoom today. Could you send everybody a link into Teams? Have you got a backup in that way? Just think about what you can do. One of my contingency plans is actually spare batteries for my mouse. And it happened to me about 18 months ago, and I was delivering a session like this, and all of a sudden I couldn't do anything. I didn't know why. And the batteries had died in my mouse. Did I have any spare ones? Oh no. So I had to stop. It was embarrassing, but I've never been caught out again. So think about your setup, your environment. What are the things that could go wrong? And now there's a bit of a secret. I have a slide like this in every single deck when I deliver. Every deck. And I usually sit at the end. There's going to be those odd sessions you do where you lose your place, where something goes wrong, I don't know, you just have a blank moment. People love an impromptu coffee break, and you look like you're so organized because there's your slide. Look, it must have been planned. No, it wasn't. It's just at the end of your deck. But they'll love that 5-minute break you give them. So stick a coffee cup slide, a teacup slide, whatever slide you fancy at the end of your deck, just in case you ever use it. It really, really can be useful. So think about what your plan is. Yeah, think about what it is. And it might be, as Hanneke said, it could be recordings, ability to tether to the iPhone if the Wi-Fi falls over. There's all sorts of things you can do. So really, you know, look at that and ask yourself, okay, what can I do? We'll recap on these in a moment. 3 things to avoid. Okay, 3 things to avoid. Any idea what we should avoid? Any idea of things that, you know, we really shouldn't do? Can you think of anything? Hanneke, I'm picking up on your comment. Practice, honestly. I couldn't start with, but it is practice, seriously. Waiting 10 minutes to ask a question? You definitely, Gareth, definitely. All right, let me talk you through my 3 things, and I'll explain why. And David, that's a brilliant one, and it's not in my list, but David's right. How many times have we found we're trying to cram too much into one session? We've almost got loads of stuff we could talk about here, because the other thing, David, we could talk about is the design of that session, and asking ourselves, is there stuff in that session that could be offline reading or an assignment? Maybe that's another session. My number 1, don't be late. You can't be late to your own session. You really, well, you can, but you shouldn't be. Don't be late to your own session. You have got to be there. You've got to be set up. You've got to be organized. You've got to have everything ready, so that we called him Fred, didn't we? When Fred logs in and he's sitting there in the lobby, you can welcome him. You can check your audio. Do you know, when I run a session, I usually set up about 45 minutes in advance, every time. And the reason I do that is to make sure everything's right. I'll set up, I'll go and get a coffee, I'll come back, I might do a couple of emails until that first person appears. But it makes so much difference. You've got to be there, you've got to be organized ahead. The second thing, and you might wonder what this one is, and this comes back to personal experience. First few sessions I ever delivered, they didn't go too well. And I wasn't happy with them. And I remember talking to somebody that I honestly thought was going to make me feel so much better. And he didn't. He said, it was just like you were talking to a brick wall. And it really stuck with me. He was right when I listened to the recording. I could have recorded that session, posted it out to people, and it wouldn't have been any different. I presented at people the whole time. I didn't involve them. I didn't ask. I didn't pick up any comments in chat. I just presented at them. And it's one of the worst things you can do. So again, ask yourself what you're doing. It takes practice. It really does. But you know, it's a lot less lonely too. When you start talking with people and trying to draw them in, you know, it sort of works, and it makes for the session. Your comments that you're putting there in chat have all added to this session. It's a lot better because you've put those comments in. It makes a difference. And sort of linking to that-ish, don't read from a script. Know your content, key points only. If you try and read from a script, yeah, you're really, really, really going to get lost. And my final one is more around your interactive meetings, your small events, not so much in an event this size, because it starts to get difficult. But don't ignore people. Don't stick your head in the sand, particularly if you've got 6, 8, 10 people in the session. They're there. Try not to ignore them. What I do if I'm handling a smaller group is I'll have their names written down, and I'll put ticks and squiggles alongside their names when I get comments, and I can look down that list and think, whoop, I hadn't had anything from Fred, and I'll keep an eye out looking, and I might encourage him a bit verbally. It's hard, but do your best you can to draw people back in. It really makes a big difference. And I suppose finally, what do we want to say finally? I suppose it's the don't forget, and I've mentioned it a few times. If you can relax, really relax, and actually have some fun, Commit yourself to what you're doing. Those sessions are going to be absolutely fantastic. They really are. So quick recap. Really, really, really swift recap I want to take you through. And let's look at what they were. So on number one, know your technology. If you don't, work out what you need to do. Think about your preparation now. Do you need a checklist? Do you know what you're doing when it comes to setting up that session? Are you genuinely grabbing attention when people join? Or are you sort of ignoring them until you officially start? Could you do more? What's on the screen as people join? Are you telling people, showing them how to use the tools? Are you getting them to show you they know and they understand? Hasn't got to take long. Are you planning in that interaction in your session? Every 3, every 5 minutes. Don't leave it too much longer. They'll start to drift. Think about your voice and the way you use your voice. And then that final one on the things to try and remember to do. Think about what could go wrong. Could you have a backup plan, even if it's only that break slide? And remember, don't be late, not for your own session. Don't present at people, because you won't enjoy it. You really won't, and they won't get everything they should from it. And try not to ignore people. I am really, really hoping it's helped you today. I'm hoping that there's some things that maybe, you can now put on your to-do list, things that you can go back and you can start to put into practice. But if I was to say to you, what is the one thing you are going to do now that you've never done before? Do you want to share with me in chat? Thanks, Claire. Thank you. Do you want to share with me in chat what you're going to try? Hopefully there's one. Thanks, Hanneke. Thank you. A plan, says David. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. Not always have my camera. I said I was going to put mine on again, didn't I, at the end? See, you've got me forgetting. Hanneke says use the reactions, use the chat, involve the audience more. It makes a big difference, Simon. The more you involve them, the more you're talking with them. I don't know, it sort of breeds, and the more they respond to you, and it just makes for a much better session. Yeah, learn my tech. I love it, Elizabeth. Absolutely. Have a better backup plan. Review our sessions to make sure not too big. And Paula, don't be afraid to look at them and sort of ask yourself, is there a lot of, I'm going to call it tell content? Is there things that they could read before the session, and then you could have like an exercise to test the knowledge, the understanding, that makes that time online a lot more focused? So that could be something that you could look at. Sarah's going to have a play with the technology. Definitely don't worry about spelling there. Definitely don't worry. And what else have I missed? I've probably missed something. Emma's thinking about the second device there. Okay, better backup plan. Brilliant. Okay, sounds good to me. All right, it really sounds good to me. Remember that opening slide. And I suppose I've shared this with you because this is genuinely how I felt when I first started. And we've got to do this. And it's a bit like learning to drive. And I don't know how you felt when you first learned to drive. No women driver comments, please. But if you think about that, when we first got in that car, there were so many things you and I had to learn to do. The mirrors, the signaling, the maneuvers, the gears. But I bet you get in your car now and you don't think about it. And this is the same. But we've got to do it. And we've got to learn, and I'm going to say by the mistakes we make, because we'll make a few, but it doesn't matter. We're going to learn by them. So Gareth is going to share a top 10 tips document with you. I don't know where it's going to be. I haven't got it to hand there at the moment. Can really hear in your voice you welcome the chat box. Do you know, Ben, I love the chat box, seriously. And I think the more there is in it, the better it is, because Kelly mentioned that online body language earlier. It's almost, it's your body language. Everything you put in there tells me you're there and you haven't got to make the coffee. So it makes a big difference. It really does. So now take this session and add into this session whiteboards, add into this session polling. You see how you're starting to get even more interaction than we've got today. So this is going to come out to you. Yeah, Gareth's got it hidden somewhere, but we'll make sure it does come out to you. I have got a link for you, which I am going to put into chat. I am just a little concerned that might be an old link. So if anyone wants to test that now, and just let Gareth know if you can get through there, but I think he's going to put it onto your portal. Gareth, if I've got that right. Yeah. If you have, okay. If you do want to learn more, we do all sorts of things at the Learning and Performance Institute. You are more than welcome to reach out, and we're more than happy to help you. Okay, but you might want to do that via Gareth. So Gareth, I have a feeling that is me for this afternoon. Thank you very much. And is there anything anyone wants to ask? Anything?
I'll let people post in the chat box if they've got questions, but thank you so much for that, Michelle. I found that fascinating, and I think it's going to change the way I do stuff online, actually, including not necessarily putting my video on. Thank you so much also for the crowd. That's probably the most interaction we've actually seen on one of these sessions for weeks. So thanks to Claire, Hanneke, David, Emma, Christopher, and all the comments that were going through the chat box. In fact, can I ask a question then?
Yeah, sure.
Well, actually, to the audience, you asked them to post one thing they're going to do. Can I ask people to post one thing they're not going to do anymore?
Ah, that's a good one.
I thought I might go for it. And obviously, I'm learning already about asking questions and getting engagement as much as possible.
So one thing you're not going to do. Okay, lots to take away, says Helmut. The wall talking. Do you know, Hanneke, I used to do it all the time. Panic, says Amy. Do you know, Amy, I've got another slide somewhere, which is a slide of a swan. You can panic, but you can do it quietly under the surface. And we all do it at times, yeah? Okay, worry, says Simon. Yeah, stop worrying. Stop worrying. You don't need to worry. But it's interesting. There's a few of you saying about squeezing too much into a session. Come and have a look at that content. You know, it might be you get them to watch a video, read something, but maybe you've got to use this technology a bit more. You know, you've got to look and think, okay, you know, they're going to read that. Let's put them in a breakout room. Let's give them a whiteboard exercise, and then I can really test. Have they done it? Have they understood? Yeah. Alice said, expect them to use their mic. They can use the chat. And I think, Alice, I do just want to mention what Alice has said, because I think there's something else we should just say around that. I do a lot of training globally, and I don't know how much you do, but you will actually find that there's some people where their English is much better than mine from overseas, but they still don't feel confident to talk, but they're really confident using the chat. And again, does it matter as long as they're communicating? So just something else to sort of think about. Claire says, no longer think that camera's off, mine switched off. Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
I know that's going to inform some discussions we are literally ongoing with internally, actually. And your use of the chat box has been total revelation, actually. I think, you know, using that as a natural part of the discussion, I've always viewed the chat box. I think Ben made a mention of the chat box around seeing it as a distraction and a chore. Yeah. That's sort of how I've always felt of it. But actually, you know, revelation, see how you've done it. So thank you so much, Michelle. That's been absolutely fascinating.
It's a pleasure.
I'm really delighted for you to present that. So for the audience, thank you for being involved. Thank you for joining us today. This is the last time we're going to do this on a weekly basis. We have run it for 22 weeks in a row now. We're going to start slowing things down because we know people are getting back to a more conventional working life, perhaps even back in the office more regularly. So we're going to be moving towards more of a monthly event where we look at certain topics. We're planning to be looking at maintaining a team ethos and culture when working remotely. We're planning to do a session on that in September. So we will send out an invite to that. We're probably not going to do it on a Friday anymore. I am finding Fridays are a bit of an extended weekend for a lot of people. So we're probably going to plan it midweek rather than on a Friday. But thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much for your support over the last few weeks. I've really enjoyed seeing a lot of you time and time again. So see you again sometime soon, and enjoy your weekend, everyone. And thanks again to Michelle.